In Search of the Miraculous by P.D. Ouspensky, Chapter 2. According to another version, he simply bought the carpets in Moscow and brought them to Petersburg to sell. I did not altogether understand why he did this, but I felt it was connected with the idea of acting in quotes. The sale of these carpets was in itself remarkable. G put an advertisement in the papers, and all kinds of people came to buy the carpets. On such occasions, they took him, of course, for an ordinary Caucasian carpet seller. I often sat for hours watching him as he talked to the people who came. I saw that he sometimes played on their weak side. One day, he was either in a hurry or he had grown tired of acting the carpet seller, and he offered a lady, obviously rich but very grasping, who had selected a dozen fine carpets and was bargaining desperately, all the carpets in the room for about a quarter of the price of those she had chosen. At first she was surprised, but then she began to bargain again. G smiled and said he would think it over and give her his answer the next day. But the next day, he was no longer in Petersburg, and the woman got nothing at all. Something of this sort happened on nearly every occasion. With these carpets in the role of traveling merchant, he again gave the impression of a man in disguise, a kind of Harun al-Rashid, or the man in the invisible cap of the fairy tale. Once, when I was not there, an occultist of the charlatan type came to him, who played a certain part in some spiritualistic circles in Petersburg, and who later became a professor under the Bolsheviks. He began by saying that he had heard a great deal about G and his knowledge and wanted to make his acquaintance. G, as he told me himself, played the part of a genuine carpet seller with the strongest Caucasian accent, and in broken Russian he began to assure the occultist that he was mistaken and that he only sold carpets, and he immediately began to unroll and offer him some. The occultist went away, fully convinced that he had been hoaxed by his friends. It was obvious that the rascal had not got a farthing, said G, otherwise I would have screwed the price of a pair of carpets out of him. A Persian used to come to him to mend carpets. One day I noticed that G was very attentively watching how the Persian was doing his work. I want to understand how he does it, and I don't understand yet, said G. Do you see that hook he has? The whole thing is in that. I wanted to buy it from him, but he won't sell it. Next day, I came earlier than usual. G was sitting on the floor mending a carpet, exactly as the Persian had done. Wools of various colors were strewn around him, and in his hand was the same kind of hook that I had seen with the Persian. It transpired that he had cut it with an ordinary file from the blade of a cheap penknife, and in the course of the morning he had fathomed all the mysteries of carpet mending. He told me a great deal about carpets, which, as he often said, represented one of the most ancient forms of art. He spoke of the ancient customs connected with carpet making in certain parts of Asia, of a whole village working together on one carpet, of winter evenings when all the villagers, young and old, gathered together in one large building and, dividing into groups, or sit or stand on the floor in an order previously known and determined by tradition. Each group then begins its own work. Some pick stones and splinters out of the wool. Others beat out the wool with sticks. A third group combs the wool. The fourth spins. The fifth dyes the wool. The sixth, or maybe the 26th, weaves the actual carpet. Men, women, and children, old men, old women, all have their own traditional work, and all the work is done to the accompaniment of music and singing. The women spinners with spindles in their hands dance a special dance as they work, and all the movements of all the people engaged in different work are like one movement in one and the same rhythm. Moreover, each locality has its own tune, its own special songs and dances connected with carpet making from time immemorial. And as he told me this, the thought flashed across my mind that perhaps the design and the coloring of the carpets are connected with the music, are its expression in line and color, that perhaps carpets are records of this music, the notes by which the tunes could be reproduced. There was nothing strange in this idea to me, as I could often see music in the form of a complicated design.